Good evening.
Oh man, we did it again. We should have hit just go.
I know.
And then we
James
say
Webb.
something, we lose all the momentum.
Yeah. Fortunately for us, James Webb, in the few moments that we've known him, is a fucking awesome dude. And
He's already
we
got
just
that swinging.
bullshitting.
Yeah.
We're fucking talking already. And I'm like, hey guys, we're here to record a show. Oh shit. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
While we're here, we might as well hit that little red button.
Yeah. James Webb, welcome, bro.
Thank you both. It's great. I caught some of y'all's episodes a couple days ago. I love the energy the two of y'all have together.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just we were told we were a bro podcast, and I was like,
oh yeah, that's
on the fence about that, but I'm like, we're the weirdest bros I know, man.
Yeah.
Have y'all been friends for a while? You have that energy like you've been friends for a while.
It's going on a bit now, but
like almost 4.5, 5 years or something like that. Yeah,
2019 and 2018 somewhere.
I don't even know. Yeah. Like it was pre-COVID, and once you get to that point, it's all just one time.
It's like there used to be like before Christ and after Christ. Now it's like before COVID and after COVID. Like, you know,
I completely feel that in my heart.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is that, you know, we get to talk to a lot of people doing this show, obviously, but because of that, we get to talk to a lot more people, like not on the show, but are people that are either coming on maybe, or we're talking to about something. And the amount of afflictions, let's call it, I'm not sure that's the right word, but I guess a better way of describing it, the amount of downstream consequence that COVID has brought, it's really fascinating because it just keeps getting deeper. Like the well just keeps getting deeper. Like, and it's fascinating because like there's truly a whole different breed of human being that came out of that.
Yeah.
You know?
I found this really fascinating. There was something very special about COVID. You know, a lot of people had a pivot in their life that occurred there, right? So, like, you talked to a lot of people, and I didn't, you know. So, yeah, I agree with you. I guess, you know, putting us in homes and connecting with each other remotely for a couple of years, it got interesting. But there was something very unique about it, right?
Yeah, I hope. On one hand, I hope it never happens again. On the other hand, I'm like, I'm terribly burnt out again. Could I stay home for another 3 months?
Yeah. Oh man.
Can I get just weed and groceries delivered and binge on Netflix? That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying this too during COVID. I said, you know, the unfortunate thing is we are so not bright as a culture. We're going to totally forget how much more sane some of these interactions were during COVID, like with your family. You know, remember those people without a screen, you know, like it's like, I don't know. There was a lot of shitty parts about COVID for sure. Let's be clear,
all the massive death is probably up there.
But like I don't think I spent better time with my family than during COVID. Like we were just like, for better, for worse, man, we were just like, there was nothing to do. We were by ourselves. We got to really get to know each other, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's great. Cause I worked out a lot and read.
Yeah.
I was like,
both are good. Yeah, I think in the core family relationships, as the board games come out, you start running out of things, to your point, Matt.
Yeah.
But also, I remember sitting at where you had your family on two sides of the table. You might have a large screen, and you got one part of the family's on the other side of the screen. It's just like really bizarre. It's like an episode of really weird dystopian fiction, right? It was kind of interesting.
And who knew that the next thing was going to be AI and would make COVID look like fucking, like, so, you know, like, oh, that happened. But the real fucked up thing is this AI shit, man. Like, you know, so it's funny.
Dude, I like and the way it's coming around too, man. Like, you know, scrolling through my Instagram feed, I'm like, wait, did that woman just get thrown by an elephant? No, that's AI. Okay, did that?
Yeah.
That's a very attractive. No, that's AI.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, did that just blow? No, that's AI.
Yeah. Some of them have been really fun though. Did you see the guy who posted about like it was like a skateboard half pipe but with cars? So like there was like actual cars driving, but a dude was riding it on top, and it was a competition. And they would do like ollies off the lip and stuff. And I was like, hey man, you know, that shit's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, it looked like it was actually hard to do. Like he's like, tools used, Photoshop, Pro Tools. And so I'm like, oh man, you worked for it, man. Like that's
yeah, you actually did it.
Yeah. Oh man. So James, where are you at, buddy? Where are you like geographically?
Right. Yeah, I'm in the mountains. I'm out here like in the middle of a very beautiful area. So in the Appalachian Mountains in Western North Carolina.
Oh,
So,
cool. Awesome.
yeah.
My brother lives in Greensboro, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful here, and the spring is lovely, but you always forget, right? It's so lovely, you forget the winter, and then when the winter hits, you're like, oh yeah,
winter's a
quick and
different
hard. Yeah.
That's probably a sober reminder.
So let me ask you something, James. You're up there in the mountains. Is that why you got the windows, the shades drawn and everything? You hear whistling or somebody calling your name and shit like that? I watch those videos, man. They creep me the hell out. They're like, wait a minute. If somebody's calling my name, I don't go outside? Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be my preference if I was like in the cabin in the mountains, but I'm actually in like a little suburb area here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is a whole other reason to have the blinds closed.
They're very true.
Deliverance on training wheels is what you're saying. Right? You're not quite out in the middle of nowhere. Cool, man. Well, listen, I want to hear about you, man. How'd you get here? What happened that brought you here?
Yeah, well, I think we got connected through a mutual friend, and I think he expressed that y'all may have an interest in all kinds of different things. So looking at
we definitely do
all your episodes, that definitely seems to be true, and I love it. Honestly, I love an open mind. Also, love just the heart and spirit, a light spirit to things. And so I heard y'all had an interest.
And just to pause real quick, Scott Mason is who you're talking about. I just want to call that out because for a number of reasons. One, we're huge Scott Mason fans here, but two, we were actually just on Myth Slayer last week with him.
It was our first guest appearance as co-hosts. Like we've both done tons of podcasts as guests. It's the first time somebody asked us on together, and it was.
Did that feel like an inversion from your usual?
Yeah. It was weird, because like we're always trying with like the guests to like let them have the floor. So Scott definitely he owns the space, and then we're on with him, and it was like, all right, who's asking the questions? Who's like which one of us is supposed to be talking here?
And he used Riverside too, and at the end I was like, all right, where's the stop? Oh wait, I don't have to hit the stop button.
I'm going, why is this not our colors? Where's our logo?
You really know it's changed.
Yeah, so I just wanted to call that out because a little pre-shout to our episode, but actually Scott's is, I believe, coming out this week on our channel.
Yeah.
And so Scott, we had an amazing conversation with him, and the energy that he brings is like absolutely outstanding. And when he was talking about you, I mean, I don't want to oversell it, but he was like very enthusiastic about having you on here. So I got very excited. I was like, all right, let's get James on here, man.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
If I had to give one plug, it would be for Scott Mason. He's just
definitely. That's scottmason.com. No, it's not scottmason.com.
Act now and you can get.
That actually sounds like a legal firm. Oddly enough, he was a lawyer, scottmason.com.
Yeah.
Have you been injured at work?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So James, how'd you get into what you're into, man? Like you didn't just wake up one day and here we are. Like paint a picture for us here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we we're talking about COVID, and it was a really weird time, man. And I don't know about you all, but I get really bored. Right. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, really. I mean, like my whole life is like, what is the one thing you love? Well, I love so many different things. I'm interested in everything. I love to read. It's a real problem, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of like a shark. I have to keep swimming, right? I just can't stop. So in that time period, I started to kind of explore these edge topics. And I don't know if y'all remember, but this is like the Nimitz encounter had come out. You had all this UAP stuff. And I'm like, my father was a pilot, and he told me stories about things he had seen. And I'm like, it sparked my.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. You had to go down that rabbit hole now. Okay.
Oh, let's go there. Let's just do it. Let's go. I'm all in.
Yeah.
We'll give away the secrets, but like all the rabbit holes are connected, right? I mean, if you look into this stuff, it's not just a couple of disparate things. These things all have like an intersection point, I think. You start
you know what? We mentioned Appalachia, and not the same area, but have you watched I think it's on Netflix or Prime, Hellier?
I have.
And that's the whole. I fucking love that one. And we were talking about Jeff Tarrant. He mentions it in his book, and I was like, God damn it, this dude! Like I would hang out with this guy. But this idea that the Bigfoots, the aliens, the goblins, the Green Man is all the same. They're all interconnected, and it's so bizarrely fascinating.
You want to come visit, like there's definitely places that are very remote and are very special here. And you can go there and you can have experiences, right? You can have,
I mean, I want that to be true so bad, but God, I can't. The rational, doing this show, the term rational is certainly bent a little bit.
We use the word health loosely here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say we're the same people we were when we started for sure.
Oh,
but
definitely not. Man.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to get in. Let's keep going. I want to get into that part of it though, like because I can't. I obviously.
I'm all in. I'm all in. You should watch my Netflix history.
Yeah. Yeah, what was that Saturday Night Live skit where the women they're all a couple at a dinner party, and they're like, "Let's look at the Instagram." They're like, "Nope,
nope." See, I thought you were gonna go with the alien abduction, where she's like, "My cooter and my tutor out in the wind."
Oh man!
Oh God, man!
Sorry, James. We digress.
It's been a rough week, man. It's
laughter is medicine, right? And
it's
the most joyful part of my day so far. Trust me.
Awesome.
So y'all, I became interested in kind of trying to figure out. I began to research some of that, but at the same time, I realized that the government had been interested in a lot of different topics for a long time. And so I don't know if y'all have like looked at the history of this at all, but it's really fascinating. There's a book by Annie Jacobs called Phenomena. And so like in the 1960s, the Russians invested large amounts of money in psychic studies. And the US, particularly the CIA, was like, why is our adversary investing vast amounts of funds in this? And what if it looks crazy, right? What if it's not crazy? That was kind of their rationale. And that kind of led to research from the Stanford Research Institute in the 1970s. This led to a program called Stargate. And the idea was, let's test psychic phenomena. Let's see if it's real. Is there anything to this? And much to a lot of people's astonishment, they brought in folks who were legitimately very powerful psychics, and they began to run tests, and it is very real. And I'll just say, like, for me, when I came across this, y'all, I was working on a master's degree from one of the top 50 schools in the world. I was studying advanced mathematics. Like, nothing in my path was like telling me that I was going to go off on this detour.
There's no tinfoil hats in your studies, is what you're
right.
saying.
We're running into so many people that have had the same crazy, real analytical kind of brain. Like we just booked him, Dave the Mystic. He was a fucking what was he? He was a space engineer, and like 180. And I probably got that wrong. And it's like, no, now I'm a mystic. What do I do? Energy healing. You're like,
what?
Did he call himself Dave the Mystic? That's amazing.
It is. I believe his name is Dave Barnett. I've had a couple interactions with him. And we were introduced through another guest on the show, and he's like, "Yeah, Tom would love to have you on the show and talk to you about what you do." And he goes, "Hey, Tom, you want to be on my show?" I'm like, "Wait, hold on. I was pitching you, but yes, like, yeah, I definitely want to have more than one convo with you." But it seems, and Matt and I talk about this all the time, we seem to hit these threads, and we'll go on this train where it's like, every guest adds to that mix, and you're right, you're bringing your own thing. Here's the government dealing with this kind of psychic phenomena, and we get all these different angles from it. And it's so amazing to sit here and kind of watch it.
I think I feel you on that, because for me, when I came to this, I had all these preconceptions about the word psychic, about any of it. I thought it was all charlatans. And so I actually spent, when I saw that it was real, I did one experiment, right? I don't know if y'all are familiar, but you can basically, the idea is you take a number or you take a reference number. It's random, really. You go into a very quiet space where you kind of get out of the way and you rest your mind on this thing. The military called it a tag or a target reference number, but it sounded like complete bullshit to me, to be honest, because the idea is when you're in this relaxed state, all of a sudden this information just flows up out of this thing and it's accurate. And so when I first did it, I had just like, it was 3 seals by the ocean, and I wasn't going to spend any time on this. I just like, whatever, this thing's crazy, but how do I know it's crazy? Right. So I sat down and did it. And in 10 seconds, you do it blind. You have no idea what it is you're looking at beforehand. And I drew 3 little squiggles pointed out towards this wavy ocean, and I tasted salt. And I thought, wow, that's less. I mean, it stunned me. It was like, that's a lot of correlates. And so I did the test again, and it also lined up. And then I spent a year actually trying to disprove it. You kind of, honestly, it's like, I'm sure y'all maybe
like your grit,
but it's like systemic shock. Like your whole house,
Yeah.
the idea that time is linear and that we understand things, that whole construct for me just kind of came down onto my head. And it really was a challenging time for me because I was like, fuck, I don't understand anything. If the line of time isn't what I think it is, like I've got to go back to the basics. And what that leads you into is really this kind of process of archaeology. You've got to, I don't know how you are, but I am a puzzle solver. And if you give me a puzzle, I can't let it go. And so when I saw this was true, man, it grabbed a hold of me and wouldn't let go.
So James, you're talking about did you do this remote viewing experiment with like what do they call it? A handler? It's not a sitter, but like somebody that hands you the number and then you do it and then you get like the confirmation. Cause I did this online course on remote viewing, and unfortunately it was more about the history than here's how you sit down and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty much a self experiment, or were you working with something?
So I started off like not even want to talk to anyone about this. I was really struggling with it. It's like, okay, I just go down at night and I'd be like, I want to disprove this. And it just kept lining up. And so eventually I could see how useful it was. To the extent where I got tested by groups that look for missing persons, and I started taking classes that got involved.
Wow.
So I'm in a group, we're intuitiveforecasting.com with Julia Mossbridge, who actually is
I love that fucking URL. Maybe the fucking coolest URL in the world for that. That is amazing.
You're going to see my eyes drift off as I type up into the corner.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
We're a team of operational remote viewers. So we've done work for we can't give our clients names, but they're clients that are pretty big clients for a wide range of things, from missing persons to law cases, law enforcement cases to things like trying to help with other kinds of issues that have come up.
So let me, can I ask a tactical question here? Cause I'm very curious about it. Is this sort of like you're saying you worked for a client, let's call it Bob, right? Bob's wife is missing, right? Okay. Bob comes to you guys, however he comes to you, and he's like freaking out because his wife is missing, right?
Yeah.
That's a highly directionally specific request. It's not like your previous example. You're like, oh, I'm near water. Like, I mean, that's kind of even like a running joke in mentalism, right? It's like, oh, I sense they're near water, right? Like, it's like, so it's not that, right? It's quite the opposite of that. What I'm talking about, like, is it that specific of a art form, a talent, skill, whatever? I'm not sure even how to classify it. Maybe you could tell me about that too. But
I think one of the things that really fascinating about me, and if you're a little bit of a geek, is when I started to do it, I got better and better. So there's a training effect. Now that's fascinating.
Caroline said the same thing.
If you really think about this, like I'm seeing a training effect. The more I do it, the more I can see that the details of the data, that's what they call it in remote viewing, is becoming more and more specific. So like you mentioned, Matt, maybe if you start off in remote viewing, you get something kind of ambiguous, but what happens over time is you begin to get really, really detailed to the extent where you may draw a person. These are hard things for us. We're in the advent, I think, of a time period where this is going to become a more normalized conversation. But you can receive very specific impressions about these locations, to the extent where if there's, in some cases, if there's a road sign, sometimes you might get the road sign name, right? So,
oh, wow.
Right. So I think the way for us to think about it, and why it's useful maybe for listeners, is oftentimes it's not very useful as the primary source of information for something. But when you stand psychic information alongside analytical information and other good data, they dance together in some really fascinating ways. And so,
when you say, I don't know, I mean, the street sign seems pretty legit, right? Like that seems like fairly specific, right? So if you can train up to that level, I mean, is there sort of an upper limit here? I mean, can you eventually see faces and wrinkles in faces and hair? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess how trainable is this? Do we know? Do we have a sense?
So researchers have looked into this a good bit. And like, if you look at, I think the example they often draw upon is, imagine that you love music, right? So I love music, but when I pick up a guitar, right, I'm never going to be Jimmy Page, for instance. I might be, There appears to be some kind of natural.
Might be James with a guitar band or with a garage band. Yes, that's what you might be.
I think I really got a college band, and I felt really good about that. But
that's exactly right.
Exactly. But so psychic ability seems to be like that. There is kind of this natural baseline proclivity. And to be honest, when I was a kid, I had all kinds of unusual experiences. You kind of shoved that stuff away. I didn't want to deal with it. And that's very common, I think, for people who have this proclivity. But the important part is this is a human ability. It's in all of us. And so we can train it. And if you think about this, how useful is intuition? You might not even know, but probably every day your decisions are not just formed by purely analytical or emotional. It's also being informed probably by this intuitive stream that everyone's receiving. So.
And to me, and this is why when Caroline Corey was on the show talking about Superhuman,
she's amazing.
We're going to have her really back when Superhuman 2 drops. We had a great interview with her on the show. We talked about one, obviously, but she said the same thing. She's like, when I was a kid, all this weird shit would happen to me. And then I said, one day I'm going to try to lean in on it. And then fast forward, she said the almost word for word what you said. There was this training effect. She realized that it could be more accurate, and she just kept hammering and hammering and hammering it. And I'm fascinated by that because one of the sci-fi lanes, if you will, is that there's these worlds out there where people don't use verbal speech. They're just talking telepathically, which I believe is just an extension of what you're talking about. Just another presentation of a similar skill set, is it not?
I would say where this led me is kind of into a syncretic study, if you will. So comparing between different traditions, spiritual, historical, because this is not new. It feels new to us. But most of human history, human societies have recognized this inside of us. And what you begin to find if you do those studies is, wow, it all lines up. You have disparate societies in time and geography, and they're really talking about very different, very similar things about telepathy, about remote viewing, different terminology, but the same kind of thing. And so interestingly, a lot of these groups, they're considered these kind of secretive sort of things. So because people didn't want to talk about it at different time periods in human history. But it doesn't take too much digging to realize that there are traditions of human knowledge where these were skills. These are things you could train in to be able to, connect to my buddy Matt and say, if before the internet, if I couldn't send you a DM, maybe you were at a different part of a hunt, right? And we're out looking for something a long, long time ago. But if I really focused on you, I send you a mental message? And it sounds so wild to us now, but I think for a large part of our human history, it wasn't that astonishing.
I mean, the show that we're now going to have to try to ask for sponsorship from, because we say it so much, but that what was it? Oh shit! Now I'm blanking on it. Of course, I've said it so much. The ancient
apocalypse.
Ancient apocalypse. Yeah. Graham Hancock's been talking about that shit
call
for 30
us.
years.
We want to talk to you.
Graham, please. Yeah.
Imagine if he's listening to this when it airs.
This is the moment it happened right here. So.
This is the moment. Yeah.
It could be.
They showed side by side pottery pictures from, White Sands, New Mexico and Greece at, around the same time. There's clearly no way on earth that they had a trade route established between those two locations, right? There's just no possible way of that. Yet the pottery was it was made in the same studio, it's so similar.
I think one beautiful effect for this for me, if I may, is we talk what you just shared. In some ways, we talk about history. We talk about how boring is it if we think we really understand everything, right? So, as a kid, if you look at a map and it's all laid out and you think all the terrain, but quite honestly, there's a massive terrain that we don't seem to understand very well as humans. And I think we're starting to see, probably from some of your guests, that science and spirituality are really kind of headed towards this really beautiful, wonderful intersection.
Yeah.
We're living at this really fascinating time when that kind of conversation is going to continue to kind of grow. So I think that, for me, it's this playfulness to things. We get to be kids again, right? Because when you're a kid and you didn't know very much, well, heck, as human beings, we don't know very much. So.
Yeah. I share your optimism and observation about where we're at, anthropologically here with all this. I don't necessarily think that the next several steps are going to be all that fun, because right now what you see is people really pushing against their respective deaths and inevitable merger, right? And that's where that's where I think people are really struggling, right? Because for millennia, God was the answer for those people, or science was the answer for those people. And now we might realize that they're kind of maybe talking about the same thing. And like that is going to be disruptive for both sides of that fence, right? Which is why when we get into energy healing and stuff here and soul families and all these sort of like quantum cosmic type stuff, like it's fascinating thought experiment, because like it kind of, if you look broad enough, it is all sort of the same thing, right? Near death experience, like it's all energy movement, right? Like summarily, I guess. But I don't know. Are you seeing kind of a similar path in your mind?
Well, to me, if we look at some things that seem to be going on, you look at like technological innovations that really emulate telepathy, right? So the idea is like maybe I have something in my mind, and so at the same time that we're seeing like that all of these old human capabilities are kind of being unearthed and talked about, we have all these things like, going to the holodeck. We just talked about AI, right? So think about the world it's constructing where you can be like, you don't like our reality? What if I can create a very, very compelling one just all around you that seems so much better? So I don't think anything really happens. You start getting into this perspective, you walk down this path and things start to kind of become a lot more coherent is the way that they feel. So it seems that there's these forces that we feel. I like the way you said it, Matt, but I think that there's a reason that all these things are kind of coalescing at the same time when we have artificial intelligence, the advent of technology, and also like reawakening to human consciousness and our human capabilities. There's probably some reason that it's all coming at once. I don't feel that like we're super capable. I mean, like,
we've demonstrated we're not capable.
Yeah.
I almost bought a shirt the other day that said we're all trying our best, and frankly it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the best t-shirt ever.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I mean, James, talk to me. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Like one of the recurring themes of any discipline we've talked about on the show is that in their fully realized form, very few of these things are equally distributed, right? So remote viewing, maybe that's free, because if you learn how to do it, you don't really need much, right? Like there's no
internet bill coming every month.
Yeah, right. But when you look at other things like some of these med beds that we talk about, those are funneling scalar energy directly into your body. So you're talking about a cosmic energy. These are manual manipulations of these forces. There's 20, 30 grand. That's not for everybody, right? Like, and so you're starting to see like, yeah, you're right. We have AI, we have all this enlightenment and it's dancing and it's beautiful, but it's only beautiful for a small group of people right now. Right. And I don't know that changes, because what we're fighting at this group is the anesthetizing TikTok effect of everybody else. Right. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that's hard to get from there to remote viewing capable. You know what I'm saying?
I think we have to be very careful too, because I think the thing that really matters most is not what you think. Like we talk about all these, like, okay, so human beings are psychic. We have all these abilities, and it goes beyond just remote viewing, quite honestly. And if you look at the terminology of like the siddhis, the riddhis, or the charismas and different spiritual traditions, these are ideas of like being able to do things that are kind of astonishing. But who are you like really? Right? So who are you inside? So if we have these technology or you have these different capabilities, like who are you making decisions about how you use these things wisely or unwisely? And I think the real thing right now for a lot of us is, and the thing that astonished me, to be honest, when I got into remote viewing, I was like, this is, I'll be honest, I was just going to like, I'm going to make $1 million, right? If I can see the future. Right? Yeah. And it was very, very kind of easy.
Baby.
So here's a superpower. Like, what can I do with it?
Funny. Look at randomly. Look at my shirt. Funny.
It wasn't random.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing that. That may be the answer that's right for some people. But what astonished me is the thing that began to speak to me, in addition to like showing me, began to like tell me like, okay, here's how you have to heal yourself and improve yourself. So if you connect to that inner voice, not only does it want to speak to you, like you think like, oh, I'm in control of it. Well, the truth is, it's not like that. It's not just like a faculty like your sight or your hearing, which is passive. It's something far more interesting than that. And so that excites me, because when I see people, it's not for everyone, right? But I do think that there is a pathway, a gateway kind of spiritual development by being able to connect to this deep source of wisdom that's inside of you. And really remote viewing at its most beautiful to me has been that.
So how do you kind of get into this? You're a younger version of yourself. You're realizing this is kind of cool, but like, do you download an online course? Do you find a guru? Like, how do you
you're like far too young for the men who stare at goats era. You know, like you're like, you miss that boat, but certainly like, you know, cause what Stargate ended in 90 something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, how'd you kind of get, what was that first plunge?
There's a beautiful community. So if you go out to Reddit, there is a remote viewing Reddit community, and they're almost like a support group, to be honest, because when you see some of this is real, it can really rock you. So like, but they're just cool individuals. They're very playful. And if you go out there, they have practice sites, they have a whole set of information, and these are all just like free ways that you can study remote viewing. You don't really have to take a class. There's a lot of great teachers, but there's a lot of systems that have just been released. But honestly, a lot of people I've met, one of the core things is just taking some of the rudimentary things about remote viewing and learning how to quiet your mind and get out of the way. So you can go, there's these things called target pools if you want to play with this. So you look up remote viewing target pools out on the Reddit site, and you just relax your mind and allow impressions to come to you, just focusing on this random number. And then at the end of that, after you've kind of written down all your impressions, you see what it was you were looking at. And so I like this because like you don't really have to, there's not an elaborate set of things you have to do. You just really have to come with an open mind.
So I think I might have misunderstood you earlier. So there's a thing or an object, and then you close your eyes, kind of calm down, and it hands you a number to focus on. And then when you wake up or when you open your eyes, you're supposed to see if you got it right. Is that, I mean, did I hear you right there?
Back when the CIA was doing it, you had the person that was the let's say the instrument sitting there. And rather than saying, here's what I want you to find, they would have a target and assign it a number and then hand you the number and say, tell me what you know about this, or tell me where it is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Like I
so
know,
it's
James,
like
I'm kind
number
of
two
making
was
that
a lighthouse
rudimentary there.
or something, right? Is that like, you know, and you're like, oh, I'm seeing a light in a fog and whatever, you know what I mean?
And if you look at this historically, like in some of the intuition systems that used to be there, people would do like black mirror scrying. So they just like stare at a black mirror, a pool of water. And so
wow.
This is how it used to work. Now, if you think about that, the target reference number is really just a place to rest your mind, right? It's just this
I
place.
hear what you're saying.
Right. So yeah, exactly, Tom. We get the crystal ball out.
Listen, man, that's the experiment I'm doing. I did not know this word, but it's scrying with a VR headset is basically what we're doing, which I'm super excited about. Yeah.
Awesome, Tom.
Yeah, Tom's our in-house weird thing resident. I'm a little bit more.
Look, you know, you're an acupuncturist for 25 years. It's gonna get weird, you know.
What's funny is James is saying like this rocks people and this is hard to understand. I'm like, we're barely into double-digit weird for us, right? Like I'm like,
we did something on quantum computing where at the end of the day, I was like, there's 37 dimensions. Why does anything matter? Like I was having a hard time after that one.
No, I love all this stuff, but like, you know, it's funny, James, I hear shit like this and I don't get freaked out. I mean, I could have the biggest epiphany right in 10 minutes after the show ends.
I'm so excited about it. It is so promising. I just get fucking jacked up. I'm like, woo, I mean, it's like, that would be sort of the floodgate moment for me, man.
It's different for everyone, but like, for me and for some other people, like when you turn on your psychic faculty, other things happen too, right? And those other things are
like what? Like let's talk about those for a second.
So your erection lasts longer than 4 hours.
Yes.
So there are things that echo and rhyme, right? So when I was a kid and I was very small, I'd have a lot of poltergeist effects in the house. It was pretty terrifying. I didn't understand it. So when I started to do this again, that began to happen again, right?
Oh, wow.
Like, well, how does that work? Like, what's happening with that? And if you look in mystical traditions, some of the things.
Hold on. What'd you come up with there? Like I was when my mentor, I was assisting my mentor, right? And I go into his office because he goes, go get this thing. And I look down, and published in an acupuncture journal is the treatment of poltergeist activity with a Chinese herbal formula. And I like, I was scared of the dude. But loved him to death, and literally was like, dude, what the fuck is on your desk? And can I have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what is your take on poltergeist activity? Is this something else? Are you, I don't want to use the term doing it, but I think kind of what I'm inferring there. Is it coming from something you're resonating with? What is your take on it?
So I think we have to be very cautious. I mean, I don't want to disappoint. But what I mean by it is that I could tell you, like, here's what I think it is, but we're in like it's really like a science of the soul. Like, something's happening. Like, what exactly is it? What are my instruments to kind of understand it? And so if I told you that I knew what it was, I'd be lying. Yeah, I do have theories, of course, right? And so you do hear some people, like parapsychologists, they've noted there's a strong correlation sometimes with families that would have young people who start going through puberty, and then all of a sudden this poltergeist activity would happen. That appears to be a really strong data trend. I think it seems to be the case that when you kind of turn on your psychic faculty, that whatever the warp and weave of our universe is, that there's probably a more fundamental layer to things, like beneath this physical world that we see. And that's around us constantly. And that when we engage psychic faculty, we're kind of interpenetrating that area. Like, we become very visible maybe to some things that weren't before. And so that may sound like but you can have a whole series of experiences if you begin to engage and develop your psychic faculties. You're really opening up the door to some unusual phenomenon that can happen. And that was more challenging by far. Like, first it was like the arrow of time is not what we think it might be. But, other things like, if you have lights in the room, you can have a lot of different sort of phenomenon that, and if you, quite honestly, if you go and talk to a lot of families and you go talk to a lot of people, there are stories all throughout, in the U.S. and other countries. They're just, people don't bring these forward, right? Families are not offering them. So
when you, I guess, well, okay, so you're in this ecosystem. Is there sort of like the whole time issue is very, I guess, relatable. I feel like that's the only thing that makes sense when we're talking about this realm. But when you're remote viewing, is there some kind of like ability for you to sense whether this is a past, present, or future thing? Because it would feel like that could get confusing.
Sometimes you have a sudden knowing, as the way I describe it. This is very difficult because when we use words, there are sensations inside remote viewing that we don't have words for as human beings, which I find really interesting.
Oh, I gotcha.
But like, you can have,
that
like,
makes sense.
You know how, like, if we're reading a book and we accumulate knowledge in the book, like piece by piece, we're kind of aggregating it. If you go into this, you might have this entire bundle of knowledge come to you, and it's just one big thing, right? So it's just there, and it's sudden, and it has this certainty to it. So it leaves you no question in your mind. So sometimes you may have a very strong impression about where in time you are, and there's definitely methods that you can use to try to sense about what it is you're looking at. Are you looking at past events, future events, or things along those lines? So,
I mean, and then I guess in terms of nomenclature and classification, doesn't feel like you guys really need to rack and stack these things quite so analytically like we do in this realm. But like, is there sort of a definition box that psychic gets put into versus remote viewing versus, you know what I mean? Like, is there sort of boundaries that kind of leak from one discipline to the other?
I used to study martial arts a lot, and you study
good.
Yeah.
So this is why we like you, James. This is you're speaking to two others. So
two lifelong martial artists as well.
So you'll know what I mean when you like did you spend a lot of time? You're like, all these different kinds of blocks, all these different kinds of punches, and eventually you get to the point where you're like, they're all just kind of one punch, right? There's different things, but like the fundament inside the thing is this one thing. And in my experience with martial arts, I have this friend, he's like a martial arts master. But, like, you see this inside like the Zen traditions with like swordsmanship. If you start to see how all things are one thing, right? And you start to kind of arrive at this with psychic utilization, I think, too. which is like there's all these different methods and modalities and stuff. But quite honestly, a lot of those, if you look at their development and why they were developed, they were to train soldiers to become operational psychic spies, which is a very different sort of thing. So, yeah, I think all the lines begin to get a little bit fuzzy the further you train. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That totally makes sense.
Oh, okay.
No, it
totally does. The martial art thing drew it home. I mean, my son's got a little kid black belt. I've been training forever, and we do this ronduri thing where he'll like kind of try to get a hit in on my body and I have to block it. And it's just a fun.
I love this, man. I love it.
Yeah. We've been doing it for years. We actually haven't done it in a little bit. We did it the other day and I was still excited to know that even though he's 17 and change and in much better shape, even though I'm not a slouch, I was still able to parry everything he brought at me and then got him a bunch of times. He was so pissed. He's like, I got dead to rights. But you're totally right. I haven't done that with him in a long time, but it was almost like I was a part of him and knew what was coming because I had turned that knob on so many times that just looking at my son and dropping into that vibration with him, I was able to be like, and I'm on it. You're in another dimension at that point. You're like, I'm not looking at his hands or his feet or anything. I'm just dancing with his energy. That's it.
In some of the traditions I trained in, there'd be like people who were really developed would dominate you with their spirit. That's what our teacher would talk about. I'm like,
that's fascinating.
What are you talking about? And I crossed hands with this guy. He had this older gentleman who came, turned out was one of his teachers. And he was, this is Sealot, right? But he had been defending the village. Like he had killed people with the art. And to cross hands with him, I didn't know. No one told me anything. But this spirit rolled out of the man just by looking in his eyes, and I couldn't do anything to him. He had defeated me before the first chess move.
100%.
So I guess my point in saying that is like martial arts has psychic phenomenon. Like if we really trace this out, we're going to find psychic phenomenon in most human things. Right?
And it's something about it's tied to that spiritual aspect. I love that you started with this, certain people have this innate ability and other people can train it, right? And it's almost like, Michael Jordan was one of the best basketball players ever, and he still had the ability to walk on. Maybe he wasn't that great at professional baseball, but the skill transferred. And you're mentioning that with like remote viewing and some of the other psychic abilities. I think it's a really interesting way of framing it, and then bringing it home to martial arts, which of course
and there's really fun dumb things you can do too. I mean, I think having fun is a big part of this, like the spirit of a child. So if you go to a coffee shop, you're going into a restaurant, just project your consciousness, relax your mind, allow yourself to visualize the place that you've gone and try to see the people there beforehand. And you may be very surprised. Just these are little, I do this all the time, by the way. It's just these dumb little psychic games, but they're fun. And it's a way for you just to continually train without having to stop. And so
you mean like I'm going to envision there and see if anybody I had envisioned is actually sitting there right now kind of thing?
Yeah.
That makes brilliant sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is Starbucks still open, Tom? Let's fucking.
Of course it is. It's
Starbucks. Don't quote me on this. I may be wrong, but like I was looking one day at the cave paintings, right? And so you have these beautiful animals and stuff. And I thought, holy shit, these are like target reference numbers. They probably put their hands on the cave paintings of like the animal that they're trying to look for, and they probably could see where those animals were, right? And so I think that if we look back, that cave drawings and things like that may not have been what we even think. They may have been psychic reference points. People knew about these abilities for a long time.
That is fucking Graham Hancock level crazy.
I fucking love that theory though, man. But
I love that theory.
I think
Lascaux's got handprints all over the place. And like
it's like a user interface. It's like a UI for hunters.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And this idea of like this little fun practice. I mean, God, how often do you think like, people do mental mathematics and stuff like it's just what can I do to keep the skill sharp? That is not a high lift because like, maybe you're just sitting in a car or something, or you're sitting around and you're still stimulating.
Yeah, in spiritual traditions, they talk about the heart of a child. But when you come to it with just like, I don't know anything. Like, what do I know? Right? And you just do this thing for fun. It actually is kind of a fun practice. And I think many people will be surprised, like how often you'll get something accurate when you just start playing.
I would think, was it hard at first? Because I just in my head, I'm sitting here like, all right, I can envision Starbucks, and I know I'm not relaxing my mind by any.
You're seeing it right now. You're already there.
Yeah, I'm already there. But here's the
Starbucks?
Thing. Like I'm sitting there going, like my first reaction is like, okay, picture people you have seen in Starbucks before. Then I'm like, no, too specific. Picture the type of people you think would be in
There's
Starbucks.
There's a woman with blue hair.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it seems like what I'm reading from you is that it's the exact opposite. You have to like release all anticipation of any kind and just see what happens.
I can teach you all a psychic trick if you want. I mean, you won't be able to
let's do it. Let's fucking go, dude. Yes.
Well, one of the things you're going to find is you have an analytical side that's not going to want to let go, right? For me, this was true because I make my money with that analytical side, and it wants to be the thing to answer the questions. You also have your imagination. And usually if you see very detailed kind of stories, that's the imagination. Psychic things are different, okay? But one of the things that I found that's true, I was reading about a gentleman who helped find Saddam Hussein. If you've never seen this, there's this wonderful book called This Man Knows You. They actually used a psychic to find Saddam. It was really cool.
What?
Yeah, he's amazing.
45 minutes in, Tom's already bought 7 Amazon books because of you.
No, like I'm too broke now. At this point, I have to download them off the dark web.
Yeah.
John Hairbanks was his name. He was an incredible psychic, but he said what he did is he just looked up and to the left really quickly, and he could see things. So if you do this, if you try to flash to something, so Matt, if you envision the Starbucks from tomorrow, but you just do it really quickly. The example I give is the way it starts to feel if you practice this. If you imagine being in a dark room and you haven't, like, I'm old, right? So like, remember the old Polaroid cameras or a flash camera?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, we're the same age.
Yeah, we're the same age, bro. Yeah, come on.
You know what I mean? Like the room lights up and then very quickly it goes away.
It's gone.
And there's a mental process if you want to try to hold on to what you see, right? So if you do this and close your eyes and go really fast, what ends up happening is psychic information, psychic ability is faster than your analytical mind, and it's faster than your imagination. And so one of the things is you can outrace both of them by going really quickly and just trusting yourself. So if you want to try that, if you go like, because if you sit down and sometimes, especially when you get started, a lot of people when they start remote viewing or trying to use their psychic faculty, you're going to find this there's this inner conflict between your intuition and your analytical side of the house.
Well, that's what I was kind of sensing, just trying it, just funny right here while we're talking. I'm like, I'm just stuck in a loop in my brain, this feedback loop about stop thinking about people in Starbucks. Well, I think I've seen this type of person in Starbucks, right? Like, and you're stuck. I'm stuck. I'm granted, I haven't sat down and tried, but I think this would be a struggle for me. I'm not going to lie.
So is there something to the up and left, that quick glance that at least he keyed in on? And is this something that you like, is a trick of the trade, or is it something that just kind of worked for him?
I saw it work for him, and when I tried it for me, it worked for me. Turns out, give you ample opportunity to make fun of us, right? But we don't understand a lot of things. Sean Hairbanks had a pretty significant, I think, either head injury or was electrocuted. When I was a kid, I had a pretty severe concussion, right? So if the brain's kind of this rate limiter, it's possible that some things that could have happened, kind of knock the wiring loose. So if the brain's kind of like good at keeping signals out, right, trying to keep us focused where the saber-toothed tiger is going to come from or things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that method actually turned out for me to be really helpful when I was just trying to be able to, and I've actually like drawn target sites before just by looking up to the left really quickly and like glancing there. So the reason I say it though is
pretty cool.
Try to go fast. So if you're practicing this, one of the things if folks want to try it, just as a daily practice, go quickly and trust yourself, but don't try to overthink it, because when you overthink it, your imagination, your analytical side usually wants to catch up and
right. And when you're starting, I'm looking up to the left and everything, right? Like, I mean, it
looks really dumb.
Start out.
So people see you.
Yeah, no, I'm trust me, man. Is it? This would probably not be the dumbest thing I'd look like in any given day. I'm just gonna lay that out there. But
you should see our meditation is set up. The amount of headgear I put on for a fucking meditation.
Yeah, see a picture of that, Tom. I love it.
Look, man, I can do it right now.
Yes,
different headphones, but like we start with the Muse.
Yeah, there's the Muse
with my little like chakra tree of life symbol, and then I put the neurovisor on.
Yeah. I've been doing this.
Is this Dr. Terrence setup?
No. Dr. Tarrant has the full EEG, but it's so interesting that you like, because I literally made a joke when he was on the show where he's like, it seems to be coming from the right parietal lobe. I'm like, if I give Matt a bat and put an X on my skull.
Yeah.
Sudden savant syndrome, where people have had these head injuries and suddenly they have all this. So, it's I don't know. It's crazy.
I think the dose is variable though, and I'm very worried about that part.
Yeah. But when you first started, James, like, are you seeing, like, are you wrong like 9 times out of 10? Like, you look up to the left, you see like an old lady, a fat dude, and some guy on a skateboard, and you're like, nope, it's a college
I think you
girl,
just described the Starbucks I was thinking of.
Right. Like,
so, Matt, psychics are very sensitive. So the best way to experiment is do it yourself, but it's very important to tell people this. It's not always accurate. So like the idea, if I see something and I'm like, if you ask me if there's a color orange in front of me, it's not like it's not like that. There is a high degree of accuracy that can be obtained. One of the things I find truly fascinating about this is the little voice, right, that comes in kind of the voice of intuition is poetical. It speaks in stories, archetypes. Like the visuals that come back are often like, so I think if you kind of like experiment on the inside, kind of like what you're doing, Tom, like you're kind of doing the psychonaut stuff, there's some very interesting things about the psychic ability and how it arises, but also how it conveys information. One time I was looking at a site, and in addition to visuals, you'll hear like there's this little inner mental voice, if you will. And it was like, human beings go into this. And I'm like, what the hell is this? There's something in me that just said human beings go into this. I would never say that, right? So this is where you get into this weird set of questions. Like, that's kind of fascinating.
Whose voice was it, James? Was it yours? Because I hear some people hear their own voice talking to them, and then some times it's not. Yeah. It's not.
For me, when I began to experiment with some of this, I had some encounters that would, I guess you would call it almost like channeling. So there would be, I think that there are other intelligences. There seem to be other phenomenon that would occur but what's interesting to me also is the idea about inside and outside gets really, really weird, right? If we're, some of these theories of physics kind of like that we're perhaps in some kind of unity of consciousness. And so you get into this really weird kind of question about these things are kind of rising up and I can hear them. Is it my voice? Is it an external voice? Like to your question, Tom, I mean, I think it's, it becomes an interesting space. And then, if you go around and tell normal people, I'm hearing voices and they're telling me things, it goes really well, but there you go.
You know what?
We got this special jacket for you is probably what you'll hear.
I just had this conversation the other day on the show where I said, I'll put an AirPod in my ear to walk around my neighborhood, because otherwise people think I'm fucking a lunatic because I'm talking to myself the whole time. And I'm telling you, I have full on conversations where I'm the other person, but not originating the other person's.
Man, I'm fascinated by this. Would you mind sharing a little bit? Like, how are you using that trying to look at it, resolve an issue from different perspectives?
He did parts therapy a while ago, and I think it's still sticking around.
And that was like really crazy. I mean, I got hypnotized for that in a conference room that I rented out for the day and did a video conference with the proctor of that. And, I sat at the head of the table. So imagine like a video camera at one end, and there was about 20 seats around this table. And I sat at the head, and he goes, okay, this is Matt. This is Matt's chair. And I was in trance at this point. I remember the whole thing, but I was definitely hypnotized, right? So I sit there and he goes, okay, who's the first part that you want to talk to? And it was a very feminine, glowing aura. And I was like this positive thing. He goes, well, what do you want to call her? Like, what part of her is running your world? And I said, every time I'm optimistic about something, or anytime I get a new idea, she's who I go to first. It's like, and it was this clarity that I didn't have anywhere else except for in this experiment. And I went to another very dark place that didn't have a face. It was just sort of like a thing with like a fog for a face. It was like nondescript. It felt very masculine because it was very menacing. And I was like, okay, this is like the imposter syndrome. This is where I don't feel like I'm good enough. Right. And like, I went through a half a dozen parts in that, and the vivid memory, even in this conversation that I have about that, I think, Tom, you might be onto something, because when I have to work out a problem, I could almost have a conversation. Fuck, maybe that's what it is. Tom, you might have just solved this. Who knows?
Dude, look, man, I told you, man. Sometimes I'm walking around the house. My wife is like, who the fuck are you talking to? Your mouth is moving.
Yeah, exactly. My kids do that all the time. They're like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, nobody.
Just internal dialogue.
But yeah, James, I'll have full conversations where I will be talking to myself saying like, hey, this isn't what you want to do. You want to fucking bring it back. You're overreacting. This is toxic. This is how people are going to view you. And I'm like, shit, you're right. And I'm in this whole fucking thing, but it's just me talking to myself. So I literally put in a fucking AirPod so people think I'm on a call.
Man, I love this, man. It sounds really powerful. I hadn't heard of this kind of therapy, but you might be. So one giveaway to me is, you know how you sometimes can see the scaffolding of your own thoughts or think about it? So if I were to ask, totally. if you were to look at a thought, you could actually like go back to the underlayer. Like you go, okay, here's thought 3, 2, 1. When this stuff comes in, it's like lightning. It's like this thing, and there's an astonishment to it. So if this ever happened to you in those conversations with yourself, like suddenly you're just like astonished. It feels like, instantly it's like a thought you would never have. Right.
Yeah,
So
that happens to me daily. Like daily. I'm walking around. I walk around my neighborhood daily.
I really thought that was like something like you're talking about it almost like people. Like I thought that was normal. I thought that's how you solved problems. You sat there and you thought about them,
does it, right?
And you talked them out to yourself, and you looked at it from different angles, and you caught a different view, and then eventually you go, "Oh yeah," and then you're done.
Yeah.
How many people?
You know what? It's funny is I've gotten to a point now where I could hear other people's opinions of this topic that I know from the past or in other things. Huh?
Oh, I think our latency went in 2 directions at once.
I think we glitched. Yeah. No, I mean, I will have conversations with other people sometimes, but it's not me talking to them. I can only hear that. So like I'm in a dialogue with myself, and then all of a sudden I'll hear somebody else's voice. I know who the person is. I know what it is. It's not a two-way communication, but I'll be able to kind of get their input on the topic, and then they vanish. And that happens not as frequently, but it definitely happens reasonably frequently. And I've always chalked it up to just being like, look, I learned a lot from this person. James, like this will happen with you probably at some point in my future too, because it's like, okay, I learned this thing from James, and now I'm in a situation where I feel like James would have good information. Let's ask him. And now all of a sudden you're talking to me in my head, but I can't talk back. I can just hear your words, and then you just disappear. And I'm like, okay, thanks, James. That was cool. Maybe I use it, maybe I don't. But it's not even that level of intellect. It's just happening in a storm, like, right? And at the end of the day, I just pull out what I need at the end, and the rest just sort of dissipates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love this practice. I'd love to learn. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. I mean, you made
I didn't think it was a practice till just now. So I mean,
I just thought it was a thought, like I guess a thought pattern. Like I don't even know what to call it, because I totally get what you mean, and it's funny when you mentioned hearing somebody else, because I'll be like, oh God, what my wife think, and then I hear her say like her 2 cents, and then I'll go, oh no, but who do I really trust? Who knows this, and what would they do? And then you hear that little blurb from them. Yeah, no, I totally get that, man.
I'm actually curious now, can IFS and remote viewing be sort of like combined in some fucking badass Venn diagram of sort? So, so James, IFS is the, you said you hadn't heard of the practice before. That parts therapy, is internal family systems, and it's this whole idea of parts, right? And so like, one person could be made up of 20 parts. Like I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a mentor, I'm I'm a service provider, I'm a podcast host, I've got a sex life, I've got a, fun life with friends. I've got hobbies, you know, like there's all these parts of Matt, right? So if anyone's ever like, what I always thought was cool about it, it's like, well, how you doing today? I'm like, well, which part? You know, I had sex last night, so that part's doing okay, but my client stiffed me on a bill, so my finance part's kind of like bumming out right now. Like, you know, like it's.
You guys remember the G.I. Joe? I mean, not the G.I. Joe. It's getting late, but you remember like He-Man? They had the little character where you flip all the different heads around.
Face turned around. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I remember all these things. No, I mean it's and it's fascinating because like there was a guy who had that. Remember that program Lifebook, Tom? Do you remember that thing? It was like a whole They sent you like a bound book. It was essentially just like a multi-level marketing version of IFS, right? Like in a pretty notebook. But like it's an idea that I just never really paid attention to, but I'm wondering, could we remote view not to a person, but to a single part of a person that we need to talk to? That would be interesting to be.
I suspect from my experiments, we're in a network of consciousness and it's all addressable, right? Past, present, and future, including like your future self, your past self. And the only way so if you think about an internet, right, you type in a web address and you go there. I think the only thing that it requires is just our intention. And you know, some interesting experiments you can do if you'd like to is think about somebody you really love, right? It's easy for your kids or somebody, but you know, when you have that really strong sense of love and compassion for somebody, and if you enter into prayer or meditation and focus on them, just try, think about something that you might want to say to them or send to them, right? And try to keep it short. So like a short sentiment or a short set of like communication. And then think in your mind, like 2 or 3 times over again that you're sending it to them, to set your intention to do that. And next time you interact with them, see if they say anything that might be the same words, or they respond to you in a way that might be indicative of that message being conveyed. And that experiment is also very interesting to do. There's all kinds of fun things you can do.
Yeah.
Like you go
now I want to do that. I do these like experiments where I go do something for a couple of weeks or a couple months or whatever, and then, you know, kind of package it up. Now I'm wondering if like we need to like talk about a remote viewing situation, because so this is fascinating. You know, we didn't get too much into it, and the vibe doesn't really call for it, I don't think. But like, there is a naysayer component to all this stuff, right? That's probably pervasive in everything you do, right? And I think that, look, we talk about placebo effect all the time on the show, right? Like, if there's a version of placebo effect that can explain away even a portion of the phenomenon you're describing, then, you know, great. But like, most people don't believe in placebo, right? Like, so if they're not even believing in a medical placebo, there's no fucking way they're believing.
Which is funny, because then they might be subject to what's called nocebo, which is a negative effect.
Yeah. Right.
To the treatment.
So if you're a hard scientist, check out Jessica Utz. She oversees, I think, the Department of Statistics. I think it was at University of Texas. She did a comprehensive study on remote viewing that is stunning. It's just completely end to end. If you love reading scientific research papers, but the best thing
Tom's
for anyone
emailing her now to ask her on the show.
Well, I'm wondering, is it Utz like the potato chip that is loved in Maryland?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, quite honestly, if you look at
it was actually her great grandfather.
Yeah. I think if you look at Wikipedia,
that's
the things that are out there, there's a reason. There's a reason maybe that remote viewing and some of these capabilities weren't necessarily wanted to be exposed to the public. So you have to think about that part too.
Well, how do I know her?
Yeah,
I just Googled her and I've seen photos of her before. I think they might have referenced her in the class, a parapsychologist and a statistician. Yeah,
she's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So James, what do you do now? Like, you know, what happens to James next? Like, are you sort of crafting? Is this like sort of the future of your time left on Earth kind of thing? Like kind of devotion, or is this a side hustle that you like to do when you can, or what's your involvement now? What's your future?
Yeah, so I look at this as like an ability to help people. And so one of the biggest things I think I've learned along the path is it came from Dr. Mossbridge, who I met. And we do far better as psychics when we're in this state of unconditional love. And so it sounds like when I started, I was like, I didn't expect this discussion about psychic ability to lead to the conversation of love. But when you have like a compassion for everyone involved in a situation, Because to be honest, like some of the things that we looked at initially, I was having to look at like murders, and you would be inside the thoughts and the minds and the emotions of people involved, not only the victims, but the criminals. And I started to pull back from some of that. But when you're in this state of unconditional love, it's like this protective bubble around you. You can be able to perceive information a lot more strongly. And to be honest with you, Matt, like for me, it's a totally spiritual, because, you know, the questions you can ask remote viewing they don't just begin and end with some of the things that we might think about. You know, what questions can you dream up? Like, what can you put into this deep part of intuition and wisdom inside of you? And some of the most interesting questions are ones that have to do with the spirit, that have to do with like, who are we really? So I think that for me is kind of where the journey continues.
Sweet. Dude, I love that, man. It's very peaceful how you describe it. You know,
I think really that was like the perfect way to like bring that home too, James. Cause you know, we've been touching a lot of, I don't know if the word like softer disciplines here, right? But that like it comes down to like this fundamental human thing, and what's more fundamentally human than love, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's a lost art form these days, I think, you know?
And when the military came across remote viewing, they really kind of cut it out of spiritual traditions. It was excised out of spiritual traditions. And so if you look and want to put it back into the context of these traditions, what were they really teaching? Well, it wasn't just teaching like how to use a superpower. It was teaching you how to be a better person, right? Fundamentally, how to be more loving, how to be more useful. And so
well, that's not useful to the military.
That doesn't help the military at all.
Yeah, that doesn't help the military.
The military is like, how can we use this thing to kill people, right? So that's
totally. That's like the only question they ask in the military, isn't it? How can this be used to kill the most amount of people? Right? Like that's kind of what we're interested in. So that's awesome, James. I mean, these conversations kill my brain. I love it. It's amazing. It's
this is what I needed tonight, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it gets me going, man. I got to tell you, I think it still feels to me like a superpower. It really does. Like I can't help but to frame it like that still. And maybe one day I could evolve through that. But I still feel like it's this badass superpower. And I think that's super cool. I don't know why I'm like giddy over watching people know how to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the opportunity for us is to really help people because, what if we can see the future collectively, we can help avoid bad outcomes, and we can also solve problems in ways. So longer discussions, but I really enjoyed it too, gentlemen. I love your energy. I love coming at this with the spirit of playfulness and the sense of humor that you guys have. So thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it.
No, man, pleasure was all mine, man.
We're definitely gonna have you back.
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff, and we'll talk to you after. But so don't go anywhere. But where can we find you? Where do we want to send people to you? Do we want to?
Do you want to direct them to a .com or something or anything?
I don't really care. You can if you find me out on the internet, you can find me there if you search hard enough.
Yeah, I went to Nate Bargatze last weekend, comedian, and he had one of the openers who wrote "Raising Hope" and "My Name Is Earl," and he's like maybe 10 years older than us, and he goes, I'm not on social. His closer was, I'm not on social media. So if you see me on the sidewalk, follow me. He just dropped it. He kind of walked away. I was like, fucking love this guy, man. Like
that's great. Amazing. That's great.
Yeah. Oh my God. So
I love that too.
All right, cool. Well, listen, we'll make people remote view to find your ass. That actually almost feels like more fun.
You can find me at Target number 396.
Yeah. That's fucking great. All right, man. Listen, guys, thanks. James, thank you again. And stick around, and thanks again, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.